Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for another day of CXC 2023. My name is Anne Rose. I am the museum coordinator at the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum. I'm going to read a land acknowledgement to get us started. Cartoon Crossroads Columbus acknowledges that the ancient ancestors of the Eastern Woodland tribes, now referred to as the Adena and Hopewell cultures, inhabited the land we know as Ohio. Their descendants include the living nations of the Shawnee, Miami, Wyandotte, Delaware, and Seneca Cayuga. We honor and respect the diverse indigenous peoples connected to the place that we gather. I'd also like to thank the CXC sponsors for making this all possible. Thank you to the Greater Columbus Arts Council, the Ohio Arts Council, White Castle, Columbus Foundation, UBS, the Japan Foundation, and many other sponsors of this festival. Because of them, all of the programming remains free to everyone. So thank you to them for that. And now I would like to introduce our presenter for today. We are grateful to have Steve Hamaker with us, who is a cartoonist. He has many books out on his own that you should go look for, but he's also the colorist for Bone and many other things. So I'm going to hand it off to Steve.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Anne. Hi, guys. Get comfy. Everybody got a place to sit? I know that guy. Think we're getting everybody in here before we get started. So I'm Steve. I'm a colorist and also a cartoonist, as Anne mentioned. I'm just going to go through kind of some of the things I've worked on over the years, and then also I want to tell you guys like how I go about coloring a comic specifically. And so we'll go through a couple technical things, things that I do on my computer. But the project we're going to do is a little bit more paint and and tactile. It's going to be a little bit more nitty gritty, so you guys get the idea of how I apply color underneath the line art that I'm working with any given project. So yeah, let's get started here. Uh-oh. Hang on one sec. Let's restart that. We went to sleep. So I color comics. Probably the biggest project I've ever worked on is Jeff Smith's Bone. It's over 1,300 pages worth of comic book, and it took me about 6 years. I worked on it from 2003 until about 2009. There's 9 volumes. Many of you might be familiar with Bone. It's been around for quite a while, and that was kind of where I learned all my techniques and all the technical stuff to be able to like bring color to any comic. So some of the other projects I worked on after that, I worked on Hilo. I worked on book 3, 4, and 5 for Judd Winnick. And then in 2018, I got the opportunity to do illustration for 3 books called the Pathfinder Society. So some friends of mine that worked in the biz saw some stuff that I had done. They really liked my work, so they hired me to illustrate their story. So I did 3 books for them, and some of you may have seen these too around town. And one of my earliest comics, was a book called Fish and Chips about a cat and fish superhero team, where the fish is the character we're going to be working on today. He can use telekinesis. He can use his mind to control the robot body that he uses as a way to get around. So that'll be what we do today. But this is kind of my process. So when I'm doing my own comics, I start with sketches, just like any of you would do, just pencil on paper, and I kind of know where I want the word balloons to go and where I want the action, how I want the action to be framed. And then I take that and then I ink it, and I'm using digital ink, so I'm using Photoshop to kind of trace over and tighten up, the lines to make them nice and crisp. And then after that, I can apply the color. And like I said before, I color underneath the line, and I'm going to explain how I do that. So I use a Cintiq. This is a monitor that I use to basically color in Photoshop. And it really feels like, I'm painting on the pages and trying to keep it in the lines just like everybody does anytime you're trying to color. So these are a couple examples of some of the things I've colored just to see how it changes from black and white to color. This was one of my favorites. This is from Hilo. So Judd told me, just go crazy, do whatever you want. So I went a little crazy. But it was a fun one to work on. It took me a while to get it. So this is kind of an example of the page, what the page would look like when I get it. So imagine like a piece of paper with ink on it. Well, what I do is I take all the white part, the paper part, and in the computer, I delete that. So it would look like this. So it would just be only black, and then underneath, I can add the color. So that's all messy. So of course, I would try to clean it up, and I do all the little pieces kind of on different layers just to kind of keep everything, spatially organized. So the character would be obviously in front of the background color and things like that. So these are what the layers look like in Photoshop. So you can see my line art is the very top, and sometimes I put things above the line art like glows and special effects and things like that. But usually the line art's the very top layer. Then the color, the color would be the characters, the background color. Maybe there's a middle ground color could go in between, that kind of thing. So, and then this is what we're going to be doing next. I wanted to leave a lot of time for you guys to actually do this project because it might take a little time for the paint to dry. So this is what we're going to do. I've created a bunch of these for you guys. So we're just going to take these, and you're going to flip them. And then with the colored markers that we have that we're going to pass out, you guys can color in. So he's going to look like that, okay? But you're painting on the back. So you want to keep it in the lines just like you would any kind of a coloring book or anything like that. So you can see this is me doing one just to show you guys how I did it. I didn't do it that fast. I sped up the camera. I wish I worked that fast. I just had my coffee and then I had a Red Bull. And then after we're all done, I'm going to give you guys a background that I printed out so you can actually put them, you're going to be able to put them on a background, just to give you an idea of how that works in the computer. It's the same way in the computer. I'm almost done. And then we're going to have to let it dry, so we might have to like set these out somewhere to let them dry, and you guys can come back and pick them up in a little bit. We'll see how long it takes for them to dry. And that's pretty much it. I got one more thing I'll show you in a second. But for now, I think are you guys ready to maybe just get on with the project and start painting? What do you think? Yes? Everybody thumbs up? Okay. Well, let's see. How can we do this? Maybe the parents can help me, or maybe Jeff, you could help me? Yes. Okay, we've got paint pens that we're going to pass out to you guys, and then we got these acetate things here. And don't worry about fingerprints, guys. You can always clean those off later, okay? So maybe you can use those little tissues to keep it so that you don't get your hands in the paint. But have fun, and if you guys have any questions or anybody needs some help, call on me. I will help you. And then when you guys are done, it's going to look like that, and then you can put it on top of a background. Isn't that cool? So I'm going to give you guys backgrounds after we're done. Hopefully we have enough backgrounds for everybody. I did, yes.